Welcome to the Andre Price Show, the show where we talk to different guests from industries such as artistry, animation, science, politics, business, and technology to learn more about what they do. I'm your host, Andre Price, an engineer and published author. Today, we have Caleb Michaels, a singer, songwriter, and producer from Detroit, Michigan. How are you today, Caleb?
I'm doing great, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a really nice day today. It's 70 degrees.
Man, I went outside and I was like, whoa, I'm shirtless.
It's that Michigan weather. It's crazy. 2 days ago,
Yeah.
It's 30 degrees, 20 degrees, snowing. Now it's sunny, walkable weather without the coat.
Right?
And I guess it's also a good day to write music. So you're a singer and songwriter. Can you
Yes.
can you describe, I guess, the songwriting process? I know you went on a hiatus for a few years. So can you describe, I guess, first your songwriting ability, how you got into songwriting, and how that hiatus affected your songwriting?
Yeah. So first off, I didn't even plan on being in music. Always had a love for music, but I always had a love for words. So I was writing poems and like short stories. Um, and then got to like late middle school, early high school, and I was like, sure, I'll write something, you know? And that process was just, hey, make what you just wrote rhyme, make it rhythmic. Because writing concepts and things was always something I was good at. So figure I would challenge myself, and I just kind of fell in love with that process. So typically I would write a concept or an idea, or even a storyline, and then be like, okay, let's break this into almost episodes
Mm-hmm.
and make it rhyme. And that's kind of how I work usually. I have like my
Sure.
offhand, like spur of the moment things, but that's like my go-to form.
And has, I guess, your hiatus impacted this form? Has it made you more, I guess, skillful or knowledgeable? Would you say you learned a lot about your ability to songwrite within that time period?
Absolutely. Most of it was becoming more vulnerable.
Mm,
Um, so I during that hiatus, I just lived. I didn't force anything. I experienced. I watched others experience. I met people, and took those experiences. And I was like, okay, now I don't like. I don't want to ever put out something because I have to put something out. Like I want to actually
sure.
say like, this means something to me. This resonates with me. Um, and that what was it? 3 years,
3 years.
almost 4 years,
Yep.
almost. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And during that, I was just experience things and
Hmm.
really take note. Like, how did I feel when I experienced these things? Good things, bad things, the in between. Making friends, losing friends. You know,
Oh,
so
no, I
just
get it. Yeah.
going through those things and being able to take note of those things and authentically document them, because that's what for me music is. It's almost just documenting where I am and where I was at a point in time.
I know you mentioned vulnerability and being more vulnerable when it comes to your songwriting. Would you say that it's easier or harder to, I guess, write a song about your own lived experience versus that of you create a character and create and illustrate this experience through that character? Would you say it's easier to, I guess, portray it as yourself or as someone else in a song?
Um, in a way, easier to do it as a character.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny you asked that because that's the almost the premise entirely of this album. Um, is that I'm taking taking what I've learned through these experiences and applying them to characters. And I think for me that helps a lot because I'm not actively going through them.
Sure.
Um, so being able to tell a story of what I went through, and even for myself, be able to kind of see that in a separate lens is like not only in a way vulnerable, but also like a way to be vulnerable in phases, in stages, where I don't have to completely let my armor go,
Hmm.
but still be able to be like, this is something that is true to me. This is something that holds weight to me. I don't know if I actually answered your question, but I guess this, in a sense, depends on how you look at it, on if it's actually easier or not.
Hmm.
Um, Easier because I still have that hedge of protection. Harder because I now have to force myself to write from a perspective that is outside of myself.
And that's a really interesting way to put it, actually. You're kind of, I guess, putting on a mask basically when you're describing your own story through the eyes of someone else. So that's
Yeah.
actually a really interesting way to put it. And I know within your answer, you mentioned your album. Can you tell me more about this album? I know it's your debut album, correct?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So this album follows a story between two people. Obviously a love story. It's an R&B album. Of course, it's a love story. But this story is not a glorified one. This isn't your Cinderella or anything. Like, there's no knight in shining armor. There is no, it's not a fairy tale. It's very raw. It's very uncut. Um, the album starts with the acknowledgement of knowing nothing, the acknowledgement of pride being swallowed. Um,
Mm,
and within that, these two people meet. They meet, of course, they fall in love, and then they get complacent with each other. And it's so I decided to write that into the story because I noticed that a lot of people, especially now, will say, "Oh, I want the love story that our grandparents had, where they met in high school, met in college, or right out of college, and were married till death did them part." But then none of us want to really address what that looks like.
sure. Yeah.
We will sit and be like, man, that couple looks great. They sound great. They're always laughing, they're always smiling. But I don't understand, like, these people are people. They have arguments. They get angry. They get upset. They get too comfortable. They neglect each other sometimes. These things happen. And I think our generation takes when that happens as, oh, well, this isn't the one for me. You red flag and move on. I would argue a lot of people in our generation have met the one, and because things got hard, because things weren't always the quote unquote cupcake phase, they hung it up.
Mm,
So in the album, it gets to that where they get complacent, they get comfortable, and feel neglected, and they leave. But I wrote it in a way where you feel for the characters. You don't really want these people to leave, and the album kind of ends on that like uncertainty, that like unsettlement of, so what now, yeah. So that's the album, and it took me a while to like really sit with that concept, because that, like I said, like the concept applies to me as well.
no, that's a
So just being
very,
able to be vulnerable
yeah,
and write that,
that's a very deep concept. I mean, you're bringing up a good point that I guess it shows the differences within, I guess, the dating lives of our generation, the current generation versus the previous generations. I know back in, what was it, the 60s, 70s, 80s, people would graduate high school 18, 19, and they would get married. That was
yep.
considered like marriage age right there. You met the one
Hmm.
in high school, you graduate, now you're married. But now, and of course, I'm not sure if you agree with me or not, but it sounds like you do. But now it seems like our generation tends to just end relationships over the simplest or the first conflict that appears.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's not discrediting those who are working on it and are trying
Yeah.
to push through, but I have noticed that trend.
Oh yeah, 100%. I completely agree. Relationships are hard, right? Like
Man.
they're not difficult. They're difficult. They're difficult.
Very.
They're not easy. Even
Yeah.
even like your Cinderella type of romance with anyone is gonna have its thorns once that honeymoon period's over.
hmm And I
So
feel like everyone thinks that that's supposed to be forever, and it's not. You're going to have to take the good and the bad. I feel like when people reach the bad,
mm,
like, oh well, it's only going to get worse. I gotta go.
and it's unfortunate, I guess, that has become the normal outcome, I would say,
Yeah,
amongst, I guess,
almost
people.
encouraged.
Yeah, really agree. It's almost encouraged. You're right. And yeah, because I know it kind of reminds me of those when I'm scrolling on Instagram and going through reels, because reels are absolutely addicting.
Yeah,
I hate how addicting they are. And you'll see like a reel related to a relationship, and it'll be,
hmm
I guess, a couple having a normal argument. You know, everyone argues, and you read the comments, and it's break up. Why are you
yep.
together? The red
Or
flag.
like they're deflecting, they're projecting, and it's like, or they just had a disagreement.
Yeah, and
But then I also
that's
look at that and say, why did you post it on social media to begin with?
true. Yeah, very very true. And I guess are are these topics that I guess you talk about more within your album? Is you talk about the struggles of relationships, and I guess does it go into that direction of we had a conflict, now we should just leave? Does it go into that direction, or is that more of a spoiler?
So I am trying to like answer your questions without spoiling the experience. But the goal, because the album's called Abstract, and I named it that because nothing is plain in terms of love and in terms of romance and in terms of being successful
Mhm.
in a romantic relationship. Like nothing is black and white, nothing's straightforward. It's going to be different, and it's different for everyone. So although I wrote that story where the conflict is like seemingly unresolved,
Mhm.
you can kind of listen to the album anywhere. Like you don't have to go first song to last song. You can go third song and like play the album on loop, right? So then
Mhm.
it would end on the second song.
Wow. Yeah.
Um and it's different, right? So like the album starts with them meeting, but we know people who have gotten together thinking they found the one because of a booty call, right?
Right.
So like you could start at these intimate moments and work your way through the
Mhm.
uncertainty, the stressors, and now you're left with, is it healthy to continue? So the conflict is 100% addressed, but you never end on a period. You always end
Sure.
on a question mark.
It's constantly looping.
Yeah.
The, I guess, the abstractness, no pun intended, of this is I enjoy an album, right, that tells a
Mhm.
story, and if you change your listening experience, you kind of get a different story. And just based off that description that you gave me, it's really interesting to, I guess, think about the ways this story could change. Like you said, it starts off with the couple meeting each other, and it goes through, I guess, the intimacy of their romance. And I wonder how it changes, right? If you start from a later song, maybe you start off with the difficulties and then you go and end with two people meeting, kind of symbolizing something else versus that first example. So
Exactly.
yeah, and it's artistry like that I think make for a really, really, I guess, interesting listening experience. It creates more discussion, conversation. That's something as an artist that you want, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what inspired at least I won't say the concept, but the architecture, the building of the story
Mhm.
was Kendrick Lamar's Damn,
That's a good example.
where you can listen to the album forward and then play that same album backward. And it's two completely different listening experiences.
It's a perfect example. Perfect example,
I was like,
actually.
how can I incorporate that into R&B? Because you don't really hear concept albums and storylines in R&B, in soul.
True. Yeah, you don't.
So how do you take that and incorporate it here? And I like to think I did at least a pretty decent job. I guess we'll see when it comes out. But
I'll host a listening session, and you'll
I,
hear my live thoughts.
I appreciate that. I can't wait.
Although to be fair, I've listened to your singles, right, and they were really good. So
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
I listened to them when they originally came out, and I re-listened to them to prep for this interview, and they're very high quality. So
Thank you.
if that's how
I
the album
also
sounds, then
would also like to clear the air. None of those singles are on the album.
really,
Nope. So those were like Caleb's getting his toes wet
hmm.
because I hadn't made music in so long. So it was just like, all right, let me put some things out. You know, if people like it, they like it. If not, okay, I enjoyed making it. And this is like what's actually coming.
Are you sure
This is what I've
Are you sure that you were ever rusty? For hiatus, you
well,
came back and just dropped absolute heat.
I really appreciate that. I'd say so. Just because, like I said earlier, I don't want to make something to make it. It's fun, it's cool, but I feel like you can really hear the difference
Mhm.
when there's intent behind something. So you can tell when an artist is like, "Man, I haven't released in a while," and they
Sure.
just put
Yeah.
something out, and it's like, you only released at this point because your name is, so you know people will listen.
That's a good
Where as
point.
opposed to like Frank Ocean, right? As mad as I am that I have not gotten an album from him for 10 years now,
Yeah.
I would rather him leave on the note that he did than give me something and expect me to listen because he's Frank Ocean.
That's a very good point. Although I will, I guess, piggyback off of that and saying that I do miss Frank Ocean's music.
Absolutely. I would love a Frank Ocean album. He keeps teasing an album, but if I never get one,
Yeah. I hope not. I feel like there's a lot of artists that I just want a new album from. But you make a good point. I'd rather have an album with intent rather than an album that's just made just to sell numbers,
fill
I
space.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
exactly. It's
numbers
like,
up, fill space. Can't say I didn't give you nothing, is what I always feel like. Like
mm,
that backhanded compliment of like, well, I know you wanted something, so here you go. Like, now leave me alone. Like, I don't want to hear leave me alone type of experience. I want well thought out. I want an intricate experience. Even if, and it's not necessarily like it needs to be a concept. It needs to be articulate. It can be, I want to make a dance album. Cool,
mm,
but be artistic with your dance album.
yeah, that's a good point. So
Yeah.
another question I wanted to ask, and it's related to, I guess, your songwriting experience. Do you prefer to, I guess, write down lyrics, maybe have a melody in your brain, and then convert that into a song, or do you prefer to listen to the beat first or the instrumental first, and then write based off of what you're hearing?
The album is a hodgepodge of both.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were some things I wrote because, like I said, I come from a more poetic background, so words and being meaningful and expressive with vocabulary is something that
Sure.
means a lot to me. So there's a teaser that I've been releasing now for a few weeks now,
Mm-hmm.
of one of the first singles from the album called "Gone." I wrote that first before ever
Mm-hmm.
hearing an instrumental. But then there's others that I have not started to put out yet, from the album that I was like, okay, this fits what I'm looking for. Let me write to this. So it kind of just depends. I could be walking down the street and hear something and then go to my co-producer Rated E and be like, "Hey, this might sound great. You should chop this, or we should build around this," and go from there. Or I'll be like, "Hey, I wrote this, and I'm gonna build some chords around it. Hit up some other collaborators and work on it." So it just depends, really. There's
Yes,
no
fair.
either or.
It kind of just depends on the song, you'd say.
Yeah.
Nice. So when it comes to, I guess, producing your music, I do you produce alongside other producers? Do you have your preferred producers that just produce all your music, or do you mostly produce your music with the assistance of other producers?
Usually the assistance of others.
Okay.
So on this album, I actually produced only one song. Everything else, I went to friends because most of
Hmm.
it was written already. Because I wrote the concept before I wrote any
Yeah.
music.
Okay.
So I would go to friends and go
Hmm.
to collaborators and be like, "Hey, so like I'm writing a song about this. Help me with this." So I can honestly say, and for this album, I didn't do too much production. I produced, but I didn't not much of it. I probably
Sure.
produced a solid 25%. Like
Yes. Yes. No, it's totally fair. It's totally fair.
I just was really focused on the delivery of the words and making sure that the story was clear. So a lot of this album is collaborative.
Nice. So can we expect features on your songs, or is it mostly just, or is it, or is it more of a solo artist album?
The album, I hold up, I want to say the album is roughly 50-50 in terms of features. I want to
Okay.
say the first 4 tracks have features on them. Yes, the first 4 have features. The other 5 or 6 or so are all me. So it's roughly down the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
These features were
Yeah.
rough to get a hold of, but
Oh
but we
no,
made it work.
no, I totally get. Look, if you ever want me as a feature, just
I can
joking.
do that. We can do that.
I'll send you. I'll send you my. I'll send you a verse, and when this interview ends, I'll just send you a verse having my files.
Yes, go crazy.
It'll be my official, I guess, Spotify debut.
We've been waiting for it. I don't know what you think. Well, we've been like laying up at night waiting for this debut. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably getting a lot of people just hyped up just to hear that. You'll get the sneak peek.
Yes.
But I guess so. I guess you kind of revealed it. You already have the track lineup, the track list already set in stone.
Yes. Yes. We're waiting on one more song to be cleared
Hmm.
currently. So fingers crossed on that. Should be fine though. But yeah, it's going to be roughly 9 songs, I think.
Nice, yeah, a good amount. Personally, I think a lot of albums nowadays tend to drift on the too long side of side of the spectrum.
Fair. I didn't want to be like, hey, I haven't made music in a while, guys. First album ever, and I
30
want to take up
songs.
5 hours of your time.
No,
People aren't going to digest it well.
mhm.
People typically only listen to songs that are 2 minutes long anyway. So some of these songs are already pushing their norm. I'm not going to give you 3 hours of that.
You should. In the deluxe edition, I expect 30 songs.
Triple the
It,
original amount. I can do that. Yeah.
exactly. You just go into too much detail about the relationship. So I know you, you have your collaborators, and you also have co-founded your own collective, Mafia, Musical Alliance for Young Artists. Can you tell me more about this? What is it, for starters?
Yeah. So I don't even know what to label us as. Like we we're just a bunch of creatives. We met all okay. So I met some of them prior to, but the group itself met freshman year of college.
Mhm.
We just all had this shared goal of like, we want to create something bigger than ourselves. We want to create something that at some point when we either retire or we're no longer able to create anymore, that this will still be standing.
Right. Yeah. You leave behind kind of like a legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, currently we, of course, music first. So we produce. Obviously, I produce, sing, songwrite. But there's 5 of us. So there's Rated E, who I mentioned before. He's our executive producer. So a good chunk of, if I didn't touch it, odds are Rated E did in terms of
Okay.
production. We have Derek J, who's phenomenal rapper, and we have Persephone, who's a female vocalist who's just insane. Like she's dope. Which all of which are features on the album.
Nice. Amazing.
And we sat down and we're like, hey, let's make music. And then one day we're like, but what if we made clothes?
Mm.
What if we made a restaurant? What if we made like, and then with these characters I'm creating, like we are using them as avenues for so many other things. Like I have friends who make clothes. You will see my friend's clothing line being premiered on the actors. Rated E wants to start a restaurant, which sounded random, but like hearing him talk about it was like, yes, like absolutely. Why not? That makes so much sense now. Like you're probably more than likely going to see them eating at the restaurant. Like we're plugging so many things into this world that we're creating that at some point we want to be tangible. So it's just a team of creatives creating.
Mm. A team of creatives creating with personal goals and own goals that you all want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I guess this means for the member of Mafia that wants to start their own restaurant, are you gonna have a music video? Just y'all in the restaurant?
I mean, it could be that. It could
Mm-hmm.
be, like I said, like us plugging it in the film.
Yeah.
Of course, all of it's early stages, right? Music is early stages currently, and that has to come first. So, but it's just, we got a lot of things, and all of which are being worked on simultaneously, which is another reason why this album took so long.
I guess how
Because this,
much? Keep going. Sorry.
sorry. Oh, because this album will eventually, and this is in the early stages, but I'm writing a short film
Mm-hmm.
for the album, which literally will follow the same storyline. The album will be the soundtrack, but it's in case people get so caught up in the music that they miss what the point of it was.
Sure.
So using the film to not only really depict the story I wrote, but also start to plug other things and really start to create this world that is bigger than us.
Mm. And that's really interesting to think about, actually. And I'm curious, when it came to creating this concept, creating this world, creating this storyline, how long did it take you? Did you spend a large period of the break working on this concept, or was it more of a, I guess, 2 years ago, a year ago, you wanted to get back into things, you wanted to tell this story, you wanted to talk about these characters, you wanted to create this universe, and you decide to go from there? Or has this been, I guess, a process for a while now?
So I always wanted to create something that was just there, I guess. Like and it was just, I always wanted to create something and be like, I did that. Like I looked at uh Childish Gambino, well, formerly known as Childish Gambino, Donald Glover,
Mm-hmm.
and just, are you familiar with Because the Internet by him?
I am.
That
Great album.
album,
Perfect album, actually.
great album, had a film attached to it. And if you look at how he broke down this album, like even at the track list, like it says like, no, this was scene whatever, act whatever, whatever, and these were the songs used in these spaces. And I
Mm.
just remember seeing that and being like, that's so creative. That's so innovative. People don't do that. Like, people were just like, all right, here's a few songs on an album, especially an album that's not hip hop. I think rap, in terms of what we perceive as quote unquote creative albums, has really pushed that envelope. And I wanted to create something like that outside of that realm. So I sat with the idea for a while. So the very first song I wrote for the album, sorry, this is a
Hmm.
very long winded answer, but the very first
No, it's
song I
totally
wrote
fine.
for the album was in December of 2024. And I wrote it not even for the album. I didn't have a big picture set, but it was a song I wrote to reflect where I was in my relationship. Me and my girlfriend, we were super busy, me trying to get back into music. So that was cutting into my time with her. You know, just we were in a tricky spot. So I wrote it to just be like, you know, I I know that we aren't what we were. We don't see each other as much. We don't spend as much time together as we once did. But I want you to know that I want to still be home for you. I want to be that for you. And it just spawned the concept of like, why don't I just talk about that then? Because a lot of people
Yeah.
would throw in the towel, right? Like,
Right.
oh, he's
Yep.
prioritizing his career or this over me. He's too complacent. He's too comfortable. I'm just going to go find someone who will, acknowledge me. And that wasn't even the case. It was me trying to figure out how to get what I've consistently worked toward and keep what was good for me. And that was what that song was. I was like, well, maybe a lot of people would relate to it.
Yeah.
And that's where the album.
I guess the follow up question is, what are you working towards? What is your
What am I
goal?
working?
In terms
Um,
of music, future.
I don't. I don't want to work ever again. And that's like, I guess, like the cliche thing. Like I don't, but like I don't. Like I've, I've always been creative. I wanted to be creative since elementary school. I knew that since then. I don't want to feel like I have a job. I want to be able to enjoy life because I
Mhm.
enjoy what I do, and not enjoy life because I have this terrible job that pays for what I do.
No, I completely understand. I completely understand.
So the goal, I don't I don't care if I ever get nominated for a Grammy. I don't care if I ever walk a red carpet. I just want to be able to say I can be creative for a living and I touch somebody with what I created. If someone can listen to it and be like, this changed how I think of something, this touched me in this way or whatever, great. That's all I need. And I want to be able to get paid for that. I don't need I don't need the fancy cars. I don't need the latest in clothing or whatever. I know how to dress. I don't need the most expensive clothing. Okay.
You
I
don't
just
want a $10,000 jacket?
I mean, I might thrift one. I don't know. I don't see the reason. I don't need all of that. I want to stay true to music and get paid for my love for music
Nice.
and being creative.
How do you make
So,
that distinction? How do you make it so that music doesn't feel like you're working a 9 to 5?
I mean, there's going to be work that goes into it. So I don't think there's an actual answer to that question per se, because you're always going to
Mhm.
work. That's just going to happen. No matter how much you enjoy your job, no matter how much you enjoy whatever it is that you do, this hobby, whatever, there's going to be work, right?
Yep.
I think once the fun things about the job are no longer fun. Like if I have to look over and say, oh, I guess I got to write a song. All right, I'm not enjoying my job for some reason anymore. I'm now doing it because I have to, or I'm doing it because of some other motive. It's not because I want to. If I have
Sure.
to look at my keyboard and be like, I guess I got to play it. All
How do
right.
you prevent that, I guess, that stress from happening? Because of course it's
Take
going
your
to be
time.
work, but take your time.
Take your time. Because one thing I also noticed with the few singles that I do have out was I just made it and put it out. Like very little mixing was done, very little mastering was done. It's not that it sounds bad, but I was like, this isn't the best version of what I can give. I didn't take years off and just to give, in my mind, a 6 out of 10. I know I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was Caleb is just go, 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 go. Take your time. Prevent the burnout by taking your time. The album, like I said, has 9, 10 songs. I don't have the track list in front of me, so we'll say 9 or 10.
Okay.
We almost 10 songs, or roughly 10 songs on the album. It took me a year to write them, mix, master them. That was because I would go out and be like, you know what? I just spent a whole month trying to make this song quote unquote perfect, and I'm never going to reach it. Perfect is an intangible thing. So I have to sit and be like, spend a lot of time on this thing. I deserve to go for a walk.
It's
I
it's
deserve,
as good as a reward as any.
right. So just take your time, because I also very recently, this was only a few weeks ago, I was talking to Arctic. He is a phenomenal producer and he's helping me mix the album. And I was like, I don't know if I want to release it. He's like, why? And I was like, dude, I was listening to the same 10 songs for a year. You know, I'm getting annoyed with it. And he's like, well, yeah, you listen to 10 songs repeatedly for a year. You should be annoyed with it. But you are taking your time. And because of that, you can honestly say you made, and I can honestly say this, it is the best project, best pieces of work I've ever made.
Wow, nice.
At least in my eyes. Some people might say, now the singles were better. Cool. I'm glad you still enjoyed something. But I took my time and stuck with it.
Yeah, and that's the important part, right? The important part is that you were able to get through it.
Absolutely.
And that you were able to come up with a project that you enjoyed. It told the story that you wanted to tell. So at the end of the day, that's one of the more important factors in music, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And actually, what you were saying earlier, you kind of read my mind a little bit. I was going to ask you for your opinion on your own music, not necessarily in the way that, oh, I think this song is trash, so I'm going to release it anyway. But in the sense of, do you dislike your music or some of your songs in the sense of perfectionism, or you listened to it too many times?
The album, yes. Just getting, I realize it's kind of like ear fatigue. Just like you listen, and now it's just like want, 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 want. And I kind of just like, at a moment, not now, but at a moment was just like, I don't love it anymore. Not love music, like I don't love the album anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I should just scrap it. And I just had to sit with it. And again, shout out Arctic for the advice, but just like acknowledge, like, you as in myself, been listening to it for ever at this point, repeatedly. But there's tons of people who've never heard it ever. And that reaction you got from the very first few times you created it, why rob people of the feeling you had the night you heard it for the first time?
Right. Yep. Makes sense.
And some people aren't going to like it. The music is subjective. But if you can feel the way you felt the first few times listening to it, others can too. So in terms of the album, yes, there was a moment where I was like, no. Now for the singles that are currently out, like, I actually plan on re-releasing them because I did rush. I was like, hey, here's an idea. I'm going to sing. We're going to get it to where it's not annoying to listen to, and we're just going to release it.
Mm-hmm.
So even I will listen to it now. I'm just like, it sounds rushed to me, but it's because I know I rushed. So not to like be a harsh critic, but just being like realistic with myself. It could be better. It can be better. It will be better. It will be re-released.
I mean, sometimes being a harsh critic pushes you to do better.
Absolutely.
Right. And of course, sometimes there can be moments when we're all too harsh on ourselves. That's what, collaboration's for. And that's what, getting advice from other people is for, just to make sure we're not just tricking ourselves into thinking that something is worse than it actually is. But sometimes having, high standards for yourself isn't necessarily, a bad thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, especially because there's having standards for yourself, especially high ones, means there's always something to reach for. You're not settling. And I just recently had to learn to distinguish those two, of setting a bar for yourself and perfection are two different things. Reaching satisfaction and reaching perfection are two different things. Are you satisfied?
That's a really good quote. Yeah, that's a really
thank you.
That's a quote.
So just strive for satisfaction. Did you put forth in your mind your best effort? Is this the best version of what you can do? Yes, you're satisfied. But if humans aren't perfect, then how can a human create perfect things? So strive for satisfaction.
Wow, that's a very deep statement. Actually has me lost in thought. I guess a common cause of that perfectionism, right? And I think this goes for, everyone, and especially those in a creative industry, right? I feel like a perfectionism, and I don't know if you agree or not, it comes from that comparing, of course, from our own standards, but also from comparing ourselves to others, right? And what they've released.
Yeah. I was telling my girlfriend this recently, that comparison is the biggest thief of joy. Like sitting here and looking at an artist who is in the same media as you create something, and they're getting this recognition, and you might even be better than the person who just posted that video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or worse. But you're looking at them and you're watching them get this attention, and you get this sensation of like, well, either A, I can do it, two, right? Like you're gonna look at them, compare, and be like, you know what, that lights a fire in me. But then you're striving to be like the person that you just compared yourself to. You're not striving to be the best you. You're striving to be a good copy of what you just compared yourself to. Or you look at that person and say, man, I can never do what they did. So I'm just not going to try anymore.
Wow.
And that was another reason for my hiatus too. Like I fell into that. My hiatus took part most of college. I met these other great, phenomenal musicians. And I was like, I can't do that. I automatically shut myself down looking at these. And they are great. I'm not knocking them. All my peers, all my classmates and former classmates, they're dope. But looking at them for a minute made me look at myself and like, I can't do that.
Sure, it made you compare yourself, just you
sitting
put
next
yourself in a bad light. Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was doing it until I look back and say, whoa, I haven't written a song in 3 years. Whoa. Now, like I said, part of it was conscious. It was just like, I'm going to sit back and live. But the other part of it was just, I don't even have the energy. I don't have the drive to. Why should I? Like, I guess you could say it was more like imposter syndrome in a sense. Like, how did I even end up in the seat next to this person who I think is so cool? They're so cool and they're so much better at this thing than I am. But you have to remember, like, there's a reason why you're in that seat too. So comparing yourself to these people you find online and the people that you're in school with or you work with or whatever, there's a reason why they're bumping shoulders with you in the first place. There's a reason
True.
why that person's in your algorithm in the first place. You voiced interest just like they did.
Yeah, that's true. Completely true.
And that's just what I had to tell myself as well. Because 3-4 years not doing something that I genuinely love drove me crazy.
I can imagine. It must not have felt that good.
No, I'm like, could you imagine if LeBron James was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take 4 seasons off just cause"? I'm sure it's gonna eat at him. That man's been in the league how long? Like,
for a while now.
I want to say we're the same age as his career. Like, it's insane.
That's honestly, yeah, that's probably true. Actually, I guess one question I want to ask as a follow up to that is, who pushed you to do music again? To push you, I guess, away from the comparisons that made you feel like an imposter amongst your peers?
I would say the first two to come to mind, at least, so I have different answers. But in terms of musical, like, inspirations and musical, just answers to your question, I would have to say Rated E, my co-producer of Mafia, and Arctic, who I also mentioned prior. Those two, like, I don't know musically where I'd be without them. They reminded me who I was and reminded me, like, you're dope too. Like, there's a reason why we ended up in these chairs in this classroom bumping shoulders. Like, there's a reason why we crossed paths. It's not like we ran into each other at a gas station. Like, we ran into each other in a place where they deemed us equals and taught us the same things at the same time. And just, because I also was one of very few people who was studying what I was studying, but doing what I was doing. So I was in school studying, I still am, but studying music technology. So that's the engineering, that's the production, that was my major. But I was the only singer in my major.
Wow.
A lot of them played instruments. So I would sit there and they're conversing and they're comparing with each other and healthfully competing with each other. And I'm like, I don't have that. I don't feel like
you feel left
belong
out
in this room. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something that me and Arctic were working on. And he was just, yeah, no, like, you might not be like these people. You might not be playing these instruments or whatever, but there's a reason why you're in those rooms with them. So take your seat.
Wow.
And same with Rated E. Like, those two musically, I just really don't know where I'd be without them. And then, of course, the cliche answer, like, shout out my mom, shout out my girlfriend. They kept me grounded, just in life, because it was trickling into other aspects of my life. And they were noticing, like, hey, you're not creating. That's not okay for you. That's not normal for you. Yeah, I just had a really solid, like, group behind me. Of course, I'm leaving names out, and I don't want to answer too long-winded. Most of my answers have been long-winded, and I'm sorry.
No,
but,
no complaints here.
but I just had a really great support system, and I thank all of them, because I wouldn't have tried to make this album. I probably would have just kept rushing projects, rushing songs, or maybe not even created at all. I probably would have settled for being in the back seat somewhere instead of trying to actually create my own story. Literally.
Well, take it from me. I'm really, I'm really happy that you were able to find that support system. You were able to utilize that support system to push you further, because, I feel like a lot of us, a lot of people are scared to leave their comfort zone or scared to take risk because there's no support system to push you forward. So it's amazing to hear that you were able to utilize one, the one that you had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Of
course. And I guess final remarks from me. It was no need to apologize for the answers. Those are perfect answers. Like they're good answers. That much detail is great, and you came up with so many sound clips. every line was like a one-liner.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell the producers to just take those 10-second snippets and just post it everywhere.
Go for it. I'm glad I could provide.
But yeah, thank you again for coming onto the show. Really happy to talk about your album. I'm really looking forward to listening to it. Make sure you keep me up to date on when it comes out.
Will do.
Yeah, thanks again for coming. Was there anything that you wanted to shout out or say to the people listening?
First off, Derek J, who I mentioned prior, who's also a member of Mafia, he dropped a song a month ago. Go listen to that. It's called Where the Heart Is. Go listen to that. Shout out him. He's doing great work. Shout out, all the people I already mentioned before, Rated E, Arctic, Persephone, shout out them. And lastly, questions for you. Can I do that? Can I ask you questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What made you even think, hey, let's interview Caleb real quick?
I was really interested in your story, I feel like the purpose of this podcast is to give everyone a platform, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of stories that are not told, right? Like you have those bigger podcasts that have millions and millions of listens a week, and what they focus on are people with millions and millions of followers, people who are in political positions or are CEOs of these big companies. They have textbook length Wikipedia pages. My goal is I want to show off the smaller stories, because I feel like a lot of the stories that people who are close to you, who are more close to home, who are in similar circumstances, those are the ones that I believe everyone relates to more, right? I think people will have a much better and much easier time relating to your story or my story or the story of anyone we have on versus the story of a 50 million listen to Spotify artist.
Right. Yeah.
It's easier to reflect when you're able to, I guess, picture yourself as well. You can picture yourself as the guest, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like that. And thank you for, not even for me, but like on behalf of other interviewees, like shining light on their stories and you becoming a voice for the underground artist, the underground animator, the underground business owner, like you becoming the voice for so many different medias and so many different people who not only are trying to expand themselves, but also help your listener as well. So thank you for your contribution and even thinking of including me in it.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah.
But Caleb, thank you again for coming. It was great talking with you. And to those listening, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow the producers Backup Squad on Instagram. And please be sure to follow myself, Andre Price, on Instagram as well.